So, okay, now let's look at something else. The way in which we represent all those proposals is, all those generation is proposal and voters, and voted and presented like this. And you can see the dominance over here. But there is a dominance also among the voters. What do I mean? I mean that if a person, for example, this voter, which I cannot read right now, voted only for this one. This one voted for this one and for this other one. So basically voted like this one plus voted for this other one. So you can reorganize the voters from this point of view, from the people that voted in a more general way to the people that voted in a more specific way. And if you take something like this, then you can also do something else. You can take out all the proposals that did not made it to the next generation, that are not in the Pareto Front. So now you put it in the Pareto Front and you get an even much simplified graph, which is this one. If you look at this graph, you will notice that there is some natural clustering. Those two proposals are voted by those guys. Those proposals are voted by those guys, and this weirdo here votes one for one and one for the other. This question was about what kind of electoral system should we have in Italy, and the two clusters were people who wanted a majoritarian and or a proportional system. So now if we go back to the most general case and we look at that cluster is, we'll read this in a second, is actually those three people who are over there, and that voted for those two proposals and those two proposals. Here you cannot actually see the cluster very much. If a proposal did not vote for a proposal in the Pareto Front, it also did not vote for any proposal that is dominated by that. Okay? So basically, once you start to look at the proposal in the Pareto Front, they tend to cluster what's under because they represent a different point of view. The fact that the Pareto Front represents a different point of view becomes even more obvious in this example. This one, we were discussing how to develop Vilfredo, and we were in a software company that had that used to do a lot of work with the government. In fact, we collaborated making some software, and so we asked what kind of how should we change Vilfredo or something like this. And this company had some computer scientist people and had some sociologists, because it wanted to study society on one side and propose ways to study civic media, that is, to study the way in which people interacted and try to make it as scientific as possible. So you had something like this. Once you do the process we did before, you take away the dominated proposal, and you end up having a situation like this. And here you find the two person from that are the two sociologists. Here you find the two person from the computer science, and here you find, and those were actually employed by the company. Those are not employed but were consultant to the company, and this guy is a programmer who is actually employed by the company, and so he's a little bit on both sides.